Hello, 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 and welcome to another episode of Extinct Bricks Originals. And for tonight's episode, he will be doing tutorial on how to custom a Lego Ampelosaurus. This will be actually our part 2 on our Ampelosaurus series here in Extinct Bricks. So take it away, Extinct Bricks!
So this next dinosaur that we're making is a sauropod, and we'll be using this particular base figure over here to make our sauropod. Of course, we're not going to use that head, but we're going to use this body instead. And this is the sauropod that we're actually making. So I made this particular plan for a sauropod. The Ampelosaurus is not actually very big in terms of overall size. So we're using this as our base figure. So as you can see here, there are some modifications that needed to be done on the figure. So just lengthening the legs over here, of course, repositioning where the attachment to the neck will go, and of course lengthening the tail of the stubby Styracosaurus. So let's go ahead and do that. First step is that we're going to mark where we're going to cut all the legs. So here I'm cutting at the elbow area, so that just in case we want to extend certain angles, we can change it up. On the other one, we're going to also cut at the knee area. So at the angle of the knee, we're going to right on where we will be cutting, and it's around that area. Now all we have to do is get our handy dandy saw and cut everything off. Oops, I made such a mess. Let's clean up. And here are the parts. Alright, so to attach or to lengthen the extremities, all we have to do now is, use some random Lego parts and make it a bit taller. What we'll be using here is a super glue slip-on that I bought from DIY, Mr. DIY, and we're using that to attach the Lego parts, like so. And then we're also going to do that on the other end. There you go. Oops. So far so good. And now we have to create a hole here where our pet would be going through, like so. And with that, we are going to use this Dremel tool that I have. Yep. And we're going to create that hole. So for the tail here, since I want to maintain the articulation here, I just got it off here and added some parts. This is from the Triceratops big Triceratops horn, and some random parts from my Lego parts. Now for the neck, it's a different, it's a different story. I used here the head of the Dimetrodon, and then from the what do you call this? From the horn of the Triceratops, the big one as well. I used it as the main attachment from the head towards the lower part of the neck. Now the part of the neck here is from the head of the Styracosaurus, as you can see here, but the tail of the Dimetrodon is used to attach the upper section of the neck here and the lower section. And yeah, so that's pretty much it. Now we're going to bulk it up with some aluminum foil over here, like what I used here on the base of the neck area. I'm also going to fill this up here as well, so that the neck area or the neck is not too front heavy, and it won't, trip the figure on front. So now we have here our Ampelosaurus. What we're doing now is we're cutting off certain pieces of spikes from a foam sheet, and we're going to attach that on our figure. So what we have here is just some super glue here, and we're just putting a little bit on each of the spikes, and we're attaching them on the figure on certain points. You can actually draw where you want the spikes to go and what angle it should be, but for me, I've just estimated some of it, and eyeballing it later on will be, you have to put it on certain areas where it has to be very, what do you call that, symmetrical to the other side. There you go. Alright, so we've marked here with pencil areas where some of the plates, bulbs, will be going on, and using here a hot glue gun, we're going to carefully lay down each of those bulbs. So we have one here, one going here as well, and we just recreate this on the areas where different sizes of bulbs and spikes and plates would be going on. Now to create spikes, you can actually hold your Ampelosaurus down and then do it like that, so it creates some spikes. And here's how it looks like so far. We've added some plates, also added some bulbs and some armors also on the tail part. Now all we have to do is paint it. So we'll be painting our Ampelosaurus, and it's already primered over here, and what we'll be needing would be, of course, some brushes, acrylic paints, some water, and of course someone to look after while we're doing this particular painting. So there is Evie, and of course my Lego Brachiosaurus. Okay, so let's start with the painting. So the first colors would be this mixture of orange, burnt sienna, yellow ochre. Wow, it's really popping. And also this is also a mixture of some white as well, just to lighten it up. And we're going to paint this, well, basically on the entire half of the creature. So because the Ampelosaurus would be lighter on the lower parts, so we're just going to lightly blend those together later on. But this time we're painting this on, well, technically most of the parts of the creature, like so. later on we'll be putting in the details, so don't mind if we would, overlay on them for later. So we here have a lighter shade of what we had on earlier. I just added some yellows and also some whites to it. This will eventually get a bit darker, so it's okay if you overlay on some of the areas over here, but we'll be placing this on the bottom parts of the figure. So yeah, so we'll include also here the tummy area, but eventually we'll add in a much lighter color on the bottom parts of the Ampelosaurus. So here is titanium white, or unbleached titanium, that we're actually using to line up the neck of the Ampelosaurus. We're not going to do this all throughout because in the figure the actual white colors actually end at the bottom of the neck, so we're just going to probably simulate that as well here in the figure. Alright. And now for the darker shades. So this is just a mixture of what we had on earlier, the lighter ones, and then we added some black to it to darken up that particular light color. And we're painting this on the areas that have some, darker spots on the Ampelosaurus, such as that of the whole top of the head and the back of the creature. So it's a bit of what do you call that, freehand in terms of how we're going to do this, because the scaling and also would actually depend on this particular detailing. So it's up to you guys. If you have certain imperfections, then of course you can take advantage at this point and make those adjustments and cover them up with this darker color. And for some of the final details, we're of course painting the spikes and also the armor of the Ampelosaurus. So this is just the same color that we have here on the back, but I added a little bit of white just so to make a contrast on it. So we're going to paint this on each and every detail of the back of the Ampelosaurus, so it does makes, like I said, some contrast on the spikes and also the plates armor on the creature like this. Yep. I'm also going to make random small ones since we don't have that 3D detail on the figure. Maybe that would add some more character onto the figure. And for the last final details, we just added in some bluish markings on the head and of course the eyeball, which will be putting some pupils of course. But overall, that's it for our making of the video, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and as we always would say, let your inner dino break roar. See you for part 2.